welcome back to Green Dragon Kung Fu, and I'm Sifu Dr. Jerry. So today we're taking you to Edmonton, Alberta, to the Green Dragon headquarters, the school that Master Jostein Haugland instructs. And the studio, a little downstairs here, Kung Fu ambiance immediately. And here we are. It's quite a spectacular Buddha there. Okay, now let's meet Jostein Haugland here. And there he is, studying Kung Fu. Hey, Jostein.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you. Okay, I'm just going to scan your little room here. It's very beautiful. A lot of greenery. The lion heads here. Nice sound of the hot water fountain. Yeah, that's Master Chan. Everybody knows Grand Master Chan. Okay, finally made it. Here we are. Got a chance to find out a bit more about Master Jostein Haugland's martial arts history. We've been friends since the early 80s, and he's been my instructor since the early 80s. And so we've got a lot of history, but there's things about him that I'm gonna learn today too. So Jostein, can you tell us a little bit about when did you start martial arts, and I guess going back to even your younger school years with wrestling and whatnot, and what is it that motivated you to do that?
Well, growing up in northwestern Ontario as an immigrant, I didn't speak the language. I dressed in funny sweaters with a moose on the back, and you just started swinging your fists early. It was just one of those things. And I don't know. I just got tired of getting knocked down. So the first thing I did when we moved from Thunder Bay to Dryden is I sent for this book. It was a manual of karate. It was about this big, black and white. And I was so excited when I got this book. and I practiced diligently, and my parents at the time were looking at me like, here's me in my bedroom, the backyard, and I just got tired of getting tossed around. So a few weeks later, the fight happens. I'm like, wow, this stuff works. Because at the time, if you go back to the like mid 60s and stuff like that, there wasn't anything like this around really. There just wasn't. And what there was few and far between and things like that. Plus in a small town, what is there? But so from there, there was both a judo and a karate club in town at the time. And being small for my age, I was paired up with people that were almost half a game my size, and I come home, I was just so banged up. I'm like, I don't know if this is for me. But I kind of persisted in the judo for about a year, then the Ishinryu karate for about a year, and I don't know, experience has taught me that it wasn't so much the style or the fact that it's a Japanese art or a Chinese art. It was fact, over the years, it's the instructor that made the big difference. The instructor that, some instructors are very hard hitting. Some are, more philosophical or scientific in their approach. The one thing I did find with all of my Chinese instructors that most of them were smaller than me, and they were highly technically proficient. And as I got more into the community, when I was in Winnipeg, this is where I got a lot of my martial arts training from. I found there's lots of people in the Asian community that know something, know it extremely well. They just don't want to run a club. And what I found when I got into high school is that we had two extremely good coaches that were highly successful in their wrestling career, and this is where I got into an introduction more into the scientific approach to things, and studying your opponent and all this other stuff, not just sort of putting calluses on my knuckles and all this other stuff, which I don't know, my hands are shaking after practice. I kind of felt even at that age that this can't be good for you. So again, training methodology, I think, in spite of the style, is something that I really noticed over the years was that the methodology from some instructors was just better than other instructors. The style had very little to do with it, I thought. So
Yeah, I guess in the end, it's all about how to manipulate another person to prevent harm.
it's efficiency and economy of movement. I'm 68. Hands don't shake. I think that's a bonus. I have my original knees. I don't have any hip replacements, things like that. It's the longevity that was always pushed at me from my instructors in Winnipeg and afterwards. It's the longevity of the practitioner, which was very important to these instructors, and I promote that today.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you want to practice something that's only going to be useful to you for your youth, right?
Oh, exactly.
It's over with. So, I have this list. Thanks for putting this together, because there's things on here again that I didn't know. But yeah, so you've had 10 different martial arts instructors, not counting your wrestling in school and whatnot. But Sifu Daniel Lee from Jostein Haugland. Where was that?
That was in Winnipeg. Actually, my first instructor was Benedict Wang, or sometimes pronounced Wong, Wing Chun. I had a book on Wing Chun that was written. It was co-written by both Bruce Lee and I think it was Jimmy Lee. It was a green book. I still have it today. It has Silam Tao in it. It had some sticking hands and stuff like that in it. And the reason I got that book was that when the Green Hornet premiered and Bruce Lee jumped over the railing and kicked the lamps and smacked everybody around, I'm like, whoa. I have to learn how to do this. It was just like that spark. I'm like, wow, this guy can really, do stuff. So, and so that was kind of like after my manual of karate, that was kind of like the second book I bought. And then I saw that there was Wing Chun at the University of Manitoba campus, and I was in the Faculty of Architecture at the time. And some of the students in my class, Chinese students, they knew that I had an interest in this, and the advertising was all in Chinese. So when I showed up, everybody kind of looked at me and kind of gave me that strange look, like, how did you know?
Yeah.
So the interesting thing was Benedict was also, and he was doing his fine arts degree there, and so he was also under the Faculty of Architecture. So we got to know each other, meeting in the hallway, stopping for breaks, going for coffee. And he saw that I had a deep interest in the arts, so he introduced me to some other of the martial artists. They were on campus, not students, but they were kind of like one was an instructor in one of the religious colleges. That was my Mantis instructor, and then also a Hangar instructor. And from there, I got to know other instructors. It just kind of filtered through. And in those days, there weren't videos. You had to take notes. Training was not cheap. Like it's some of the stuff on campus, because it was co-sponsored by the university, was not too costly. But some of the private lessons with some of these other guys, you had to train hard, and money was involved. And those kind of not either or. It was kind of a little bit of both. But the training was far more brutal in those days. The sweat equity certainly had to be there. So.
Can I ask you now about Sifu William Chan? He was a Jostein 5-animal Kung Fu.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's definitely a Hangar-like system, but it had sort of like. I hadn't studied any real Silam at the time, but until much later when I sort of encountered Grandmaster Chan, and then I could see there was more Silam in this system than the Hangar. Is definitely a Hangar system. You can see it just by the way it moves, but there's other elements in there, and that's where a lot of my I guess esoteric kind of weaponry that I practice today came from. It was all one-on-one, basement, backyard, weekends. He was a janitor in the school. Over in Hong Kong, he was probably had a more noteworthy person when we immigrated here. All of a sudden, now he's washing dishes in the back of a restaurant. He's a janitor. All of these other jobs. So him and his wife are relatively poor, right? And so me showing up and wanting his art, and also paying him well for it. I managed to scoop quite a bit of material out of the guy, and plus a friendship developed when you're one-on-one like that with somebody, and when you literally work your ass off for this guy, like he really appreciates it, because I don't think anybody wants to see their art die out. You spent all this time gathering it, practicing it, it becomes part of you, and then all of a sudden you have no students to show it to, and running a club is a hassle. It can be a real hassle, and so here he is. Somebody shows up on his doorstep through recommendations and things like that, and all of a sudden, you just work your heart out to learn this stuff.
It's a shame, yeah. A lot of the arts die out because the people don't want to run a school, right?
Well, it's a hassle. It's a real hassle.
All right, now you have here Sifu Gordon Chu.
Gordon Chu?
He's Mantis Kung Fu from Indonesia.
Yeah, like just like with the Hangar and a lot of these other systems, Totally Foot and that, they all sort of, I don't know, everybody wants to be attached to Hong Kong style with the big name and all this other kind of stuff, and none of my instructors were. In fact, it's interesting when Master Chan Sifu saw me practicing my art when we first met. He saw instantly that my art came from Toi San, just by the way it was done, the opening salutes, all of this kind of stuff. There's some very good lineages that come through sort of very obscure sort of pathways, and they're equally as good, equally as lethal. It's the practitioner, not the lineage. To me, that what I've been seeing. Some people wave a big name around, and I'm like, well, let's see what you can do. I see people now, they're going back to the '60s, and they have a full photographic history, and this is a white guy, and I have to question that, because I came through the same thing with a lot of Chinese instructors, and man, I was the oddball in the classroom, and so when you have a full set of credentials and photographs and all this, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I'm just I have to kind of question it, because that's not the experience I had at all.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the purpose is just to collect credentials, but without content.
Nobody ever questioned. I went to tournaments. I had a black sash on, and nobody ever questioned my credentials. I never had any, other than at that time I had several styles already behind me, and I could execute several dozen forms on command, and nobody ever questioned my credentials, even though I really, I didn't have any paper that said I was, Master so they could, I don't know, I guess they could just see it,
Well, you've heard two other masters say that the only use they had for a belt in the old country was to hold their pants.
Hold up their pants.
It's basically practice and practice,
Well, going to that story, my first Hangar instructor, we were kind of parting company, and it was about '77 or something. He was heading, I believe it was to San Francisco, and I was finished at University of Manitoba. So I'm like, Sifu says, what do I do when I open a club, or what's the, I'm new to this. What do I do? He says, well, all the students in his particular class had a red sash, wrapped it around their waist, nice thick, just like the ones I have here. And he had the black sash, and that was it. You were the instructor or the student. All the students knew how they ranked. They all knew who was better than who. So it says, okay, I open up a club. Says, okay, you open up a club. You put this around your waist, referring to the black sash. Everybody else red.
Yeah.
Says somebody comes in, says causes trouble, you have to fight them. And here's the funny part: if you lose, close the school. Don't mention my name.
Yeah, that's the only credential you need.
That was it. if you lose, close the school. But it was like that's the advice. It was kind of it was humorous, but not, sort of thing.
I guess so. Yeah, it's like well, Master Chan talks about his grandfather in the village in Toisan. He was the village Kung Fu Master, right?
Yeah.
And of course, they get challenged periodically. And to get to be the Kung Fu Master, he had to beat the previous master.
Well, you didn't keep that position long if you weren't very good at it.
So there's your credential, and there's your tournament, and there's your everything, right? And then, of course, if you win, then of course more people want to learn from you.
Well, there's one incident, and it was with the first Hangar instructor. There was a little incident, and they're talking credentials, and he's basically like, these are my credentials. He said. And how do you argue with that?
So or like this, like
yeah.
But yeah, so we met in like I don't know, early '80s, maybe '82 or '3, whatever it was.
Something like that. Yeah.
And it was at Chun's Wing Chun. In the beginning, did he actually advertise it as Wing Chun, or was his company?
Well, he advertised it as Wing Chun, and I could see immediately that there's Wing Chun elements to it, but there's also other elements to it, and upon more extensive research, like there's a Vietnamese kind of style of Wing Chun that incorporates different kicking methodology and also incorporates a bit of Hangar in it, and you could see that in his system.
And a bit of dragon, but it was a lot more. I mean, sweeps and stuff that were going down low was different.
Yeah, it was a little different, yeah.
And so it was very, very good school to be in at that time, because you were instructing, one of the head instructors, and you were doing at that time more classical Wing Chun. Right?
Yeah, like I focused more on the because the Hong Kong version of the Wing Chun was what was most popular at the time, even though like I know another version of the style that's farther inland. You can see that they're both Wing Chun. It's just that they function a little differently. And I think since we've had our talks over the years, you've done a bit of research. Like I saw your last video there. You can definitely see it's Wing Chun, but you can also see that it's a little different. It functions and there's a lot, and there are more sets to the style than the few sets that Ip Man showed.
Yeah. By the way, if you're curious about what Chun's Wing Chun School forms and everything were like, we do have a video that you might want to check out. We put it up on YouTube earlier. Yeah, and well, it was quite interesting getting back to Chun School, because it was almost like having two schools in one. We could get the benefit of the classical and then, of course, the Vietnamese Wing Chun. And you were there for 13 years, isn't it?
Yeah, 13 years. We did a demo early on, and I says, well, Chun says, Hangar is a style that demos really well because there's bigger movements. We have all this weaponry and stuff like that, and he saw it. He sort of took a look at it. So slowly I started teaching more and more Hangar in my particular classes. So it's kind of a Wing Chun Hangar blend, and knowing both of the styles, I find they mesh really well. They mesh extremely well. Because I don't know, probably at one time there everything was under one roof. Mm-hmm. So one is just a different sort of, I guess, maybe perhaps a higher version. I found that as the older I get, I'm leaning more towards, I guess, things like the Dragon Shadow and the Wing Chun, because I'm just not as mobile as I used to be now at this age. But there's still a lot of the Hangar that still works, and like everything meshes really well now that I've been doing this for over 55 years now. So
yeah, 55 years.
I can't believe I've been doing this long.
How long? Too long?
Smile. Smile while you strip. It's like you're there.
We need music?
Okay, hey!
One of the things that Justine amazes me with constantly is always coming up with something that I've never seen him do before, and sometimes never heard of before, and then he shows me how actually proficient he is with it. Now, you've done a lot of Filipino stick seminars, right? And
I've spent so much money on these arts that it's, but it's, you know, anybody that's passionate about anything, cost isn't really an object. It's kind of, you'll find a way to pay for it.
Yeah, it's your life. And,
Oh, totally. It's part of you. It's like I don't know. It's like it's such a big part of you. It's hard to explain. You know.
So some of the names here: Kelly Warden with Arnes, Dan Retano. This is Kali.
Yeah, Estacado Kali in Calgary. He was shorter than me, skinnier, but man, I'm telling you, this guy could finish you in a heartbeat. I've never, you know, but to look at the man, you like, you know, like you wouldn't even be afraid of him. But when he starts to move and like, man, oh my God, you know, like it's. Then Kelly Warden, he trained our niece with Remy Presses. I've taken a lot of his seminars in, and he teaches special ops in the U.S. and roundabout. And there's another very formidable individual. Hats off to both of these guys. And then also I look at Grandmaster Chan. I look at Datu Kelly Warden. And then look at Guru Dan Ratano, all these guys. Like I've been very fortunate to have trained with some really high-end individuals. Like even going back to my younger days in Winnipeg and stuff like that, I've been very, very fortunate. And that's not to say I haven't bumped into some peculiar martial artists, but I think because of the way my coaches in wrestling analyzed and taught us to analyze, I could spot a good instructor versus a poor instructor very quickly.
Plus, you have to go out of your way to get hooked up with these instructors. So, while there's luck involved, there's certainly a little bit of knowledge and skill in finding the right instructors.
Well, there certainly is a bit of luck.
Tell us a little bit about some, so we say, injuries that you've had along the way. That there's one that in particular that I remember, but we'll get to that. Injuries that you've had and had to overcome that or maybe slowed you down or made you actually have to stop practicing for a while?
Well, it's I've never had anything that I guess the biggest thing, the only thing that's ever had me stop practice for a while was a hernia operation, and I got a big patch like this down here. And I don't know, there's a long story that goes with that, but I don't need to bore you with that here. But I've had my knee ripped up. I was in a metal leg brace for 6 months, but I didn't miss a class. I had to alter the way I did things. I limped around a little bit, but
actually, that's the time that you tore the muscles from the back of the leg.
Oh yeah, I got the torn hamstring on top of it. And just various sprained ankles. You name it. A lot of the injuries were kind of guess they go back to my wrestling days, because I had a very brutal wrestling style, and I had a fairly high pain tolerance, which probably didn't help some of the things that I put myself through. And they affect me today. And plus there's that bad car accident that was in that.
Oh, right. I
totaled my Cherokee.
That was an injury that wasn't martial arts related, but certainly it had a big impact on your body.
I feel it today, and there's various sort of Qigong sort of exercises related to the Hangar that it really helps me keep mobile.
Keep mobile, right?
And mobility at this age is it's key.
Right, and this playlist, the topic of it is ageless martial arts, ageless martial artists. And so we're the same age. Justine's about 5 months older than me, so we're both up there in the high 60s. Still functioning pretty good in spite of previous injuries and so on. Now, as a chiropractor, I would say that some injuries as long as they're not horrible. And if you decide to stop exercising, you're not going to heal as well as if you keep moving. And so, actually, I do remember the time that you were in the brace, right? And yeah, we were teaching us sword forms and every other thing. Never missed a class. That's dedication. Not only a dedication, but love of the art, and you know, fun to be around students and instructors, right? But is there any topic that you want to touch on, that you want to share? I mean, this is sharing pretty much with the martial arts world.
Well, just the relatedness, because I've pretty much practiced the whole spectrum. Yeah. And you know, I guess the Japanese arts, I went more towards the Chinese arts, and I think it had more to do with the instructors I experienced. Because later on, I just experienced better instruction. And met some great people on both sides of the fence, and you know, like it's just like you say, luck comes into it.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Had I had a different say, you know, Japanese instructor, I'd probably still be in that style.
Yeah.
And you know, so it's just, you know, like I've met you know, the whole spectrum on both sides of the fence, and it was just the luck of the draw that I stayed here. Mm-hmm. You know, and you know, when you've invested so much time in something, you're better off to keep going. Yeah. I've talked to a few people over the years, and it says you have to pick an instructor. When you find a good instructor, when you pick them, you have to stay with them. Don't flop all. But you know, I was a very high energy individual at most of my life. I'm one of these guys that could go on 3 and 4 hours sleep and still function, which is kind of goofy. But there was just so much to offer. I couldn't practice these arts enough. Hence, I've ended up with I think I've got 90 some odd sets in my head from 7-8 different styles, and then I practice all of them several hours every day for me, continually. And the esoteric weapons I always had an interest in, because when you look at some of this weaponry, like it's some of it's pretty bizarre, and some of it's pretty brutal in how you use some of this stuff, but it's also exciting from just a pure mechanics point of view. You know, the founder of Shotokan, I believe, I've talked to a few Japanese people over the years, and I think the translation was there's no first punch in karate. I think what he wanted to say was there's only technique. And I think that's the better translation. When you think of only technique, you're not thinking of winning or losing. You're thinking of perfecting a movement against some other force. And that's the way I've always tried to teach people, is perfecting that technique. Don't think about winning or losing, or I'm better than you, or think of the technique as an art. Just like a brush stroke, you know. The brush strokes of the art is the way I feel about this now, and I feel more strongly about it when I think about some of the things my teachers tried to pass on to me, but didn't explain perhaps very well at the time. I've talked to other people, who have a better understanding of the languages and stuff like that, and I think, yeah, it's just the art form it's manipulation, pure and simple. Don't think about winning, losing. Just think of the manipulation and how to perfect it.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it is an art, and the analogy you have with the brush strokes, I really like, because some people might say, well, don't you get tired of it or bored with it? Well, no, because it's kind of like painting a picture. Mm-hmm. You know all the strokes, you know the colors, mm-hmm. but no picture is the same. Mm-hmm. You're using the same techniques. Mm-hmm. But they all come out differently. Mm. The same as you can't predict what kind of attack's going to come onto you, so you have to adapt, right? Mm. So okay, let's take a moment and have a look around the studio here. I want to see your martial arts environment. Now we're in the training area here. You can see that there's a lot of equipment here for the students to have access to. There's Justine again. You got a nice drum here too. Well, 2 of them. 3 of them. All right, show, okay, another wooden man here. You were showing us this apparatus here, which is you're enjoying lately, eh?
Yeah, so these tires on the wall are great for kicking. Okay. Multiple kicks. Okay, and these, so you can work your way around all of this apparatus here.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we can, you know, you can practice, double practice, kind of looking around, working.
Good, yeah. It's really nice that you've got a brick wall. You can beat this stuff all day and it's not going to hurt.
Well, it's not going to damage the wall for sure.
Yeah.
Then we have our it's kind of, it was a grappling dummy, but it's nice to have arms that you can, you know,
Yeah.
you can manipulate, eh? So.
Sure. And kick too, I guess, if you want.
Yeah.
You know, beat the heck out.
You know, knee shots, you know. We do a lot of knee, groin, eyes, you know, throat, neck, you know.
And I won't bother showing you. The bathrooms are around the corner there, but you can see the training area is really well set up. Got lots of equipment. How many square feet do you have in the training area here?
The whole space is 1,900. I think in here is about probably 1,300.
1,300? Okay. That's a good space.
Yeah.
A lot of it's taken up by equipment, and you can see the actual movement area here is not that large, but goes to show that you don't need a humongous space to train, you know? Yeah.
And even, you know, this guy here, we've got it covered because,
Yeah.
you know,
Exactly. You gotta.
we train with everything here.
Why waste a good pillar?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Finer sand in this one, and you know. This is water oil. This is what we use for our iron palm training.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a Chinese medicine that's it's actually extremely good for healing abrasions and burns, eh?
Oh, very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you're doing this kind of training, you're going to have some abrasions, and not only I think it will heal it fast, but the slipperiness of it helps prevent. I think prevent getting too many abrasions, especially if you're doing like a lot of the Wing Chun hand to hand.
Oh, totally.
Okay, well, it's been quite an honor to have the time here and go over Master Jostein Haugland's history and his environment here, where he trains and so on. So thanks very much, Jostein.
Welcome.
Yeah, good. And so we'll see you next time.
Peace be with you.
Yeah, remember, be an ageless martial artist. Good night, Chicago. By the way, Justein's here all week. Don't forget to tip your waiter.